What's up, ladies and gents? I was just thinking of what other courses or online courses should I take this 2023. What I've thought of, what are actually the courses that I've took in 2022. So I've had different architectural courses that I took online. There was also a project management course that I thought was beneficial for me in terms of my architectural career. But to be honest, the best course that I have took last year was the science of well-being. And it's not related to my niche, my career, but this is generally, the science of well-being, the science of happiness. So I believe that, this year, on how young I am, 23, the range of, 20 to 30, I believe, should be the time when you should be getting so much info, so much knowledge, so much detail, so much information that you're interested in. So you can share it and you can use it as your own value, your own skill. So I don't know how this course pulled me in, but on the peak of COVID 2020, this was, I believe, was one of the top online courses online
of the workforce.
Science of well-being.
Must stay.
This was also taught by Hamza. This is actually one of the most authentic, most genuine YouTuber that I know.
Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Mwah.
He has affected me as well. So I was trying to follow the way he shares his own habits, and then he explained that he took this course, and now by the interest of the guy I was following, I tried to check out the Science of Wellbeing. So Science of Wellbeing is an online course found on Coursera. Coursera is an global online learning platform that offers anyone, anywhere, access to online courses and degrees from different leading universities and companies. So just like what I've said, I've took project management in Coursera, and I've also took the Science of Wellbeing there. So the Science of Wellbeing is made by Professor Laurie Santos. She is a professor in Yale University. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Yale University, but it's one of the most famous university in America. So that is Yale University. So Laurie Santos is also a cognitive scientist. Okay, I know. I might have been overwhelming you with the terms of cognitive scientist, science, professor, and all those stuff. I myself as well wasn't really interested in science when I was younger. It's just that when happiness is now included in the term science, it actually gave me an interest of, is there really a science behind happiness? So trust me, as someone who, again, didn't like science when I was younger, now I believe this course is very, very beneficial to a lot of people at all ages, from the young people, the teenagers, and my age, 20 to 30s. For those people who are having a midlife crisis or understanding that you're not happy, I think this is for you. I think you'll understand what I'm saying, that this actually helped me a lot in terms of receiving, in terms of seeing what really happiness is. So there are 5 key points that will be discussed by Laurie Santos. It's going to be in a span of 10 weeks. So it's really up to you whether you'll finish it on one sitting, just like what other people do. They try to binge watch something. They try to finish one series on one night. So I think for something that will be beneficial for you, whether you want to finish it on one night or you want to do it on a weekly basis, this is going to be helpful. Before anything else, for you to be able to apply or practice the things that will be discussed here, I suggest that you do the rewirement activities that will be explained. If you try to check it out, or you're just going to check this video, so the rewirement activities aren't extreme things. You don't have to worry about it. These are just normal things that I wasn't just really doing just because it isn't a sexy thing to do, just because it isn't in the social media. But these requirement activities help me a lot. So there's going to be 5 key points that will be discussed by Lori Santos. First is the misconceptions about happiness. Second is why our expectations are so bad. Third, what stuff really increase happiness. Fourth, strategies to reset our expectations. And fifth is putting strategies onto practice. So now that we know the 5 key points that will be discussed, let me first discuss or just share what I've learned in the misconceptions about happiness. Okay, I'm a bit sick right now, so probably you can tell with the way I speak, with the tone of my voice, but I'm trying my best to just share whatever I can share through YouTube because this actually really helped me. And I want to also help other people, especially in these times that, depression is actually increasing, anxiety, and all those things. Professor Lori Santos explained the things that we think that will make us happy, but in reality we will not. Is first, this is not your mediocre job. This isn't your average paying job, but how we visualize a good paying job. So does getting a good job make us really happy? So in a 1998 research done by Gilbert and his company, using a happiness scale of 1, which is not very happy, and 10 being the very happy, college students were asked to say their first baseline happiness. So for example, right now I'm feeling, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm feeling, let's say 7 to 8. So for example, a fair amount of happiness on my baseline. And then second is their predicted drop in happiness. So for example, they interviewed me and they asked me, okay, what do you want to be after you graduate from college? And of course, I'm going to say that I want to be an architect in the future with this X amount of money, this X amount of salary that I'm going to get. So we're actually having an expectation of what we want as soon as we graduate, right? They were asked what's going to be their predicted drop in happiness. For example, they did not get the assumed or the expected job that they want. So for example, I didn't get the high paying architect job. I'm predicting that I'm going to be let's say 4 or 3. So from 8 to 7, which was my baseline, it's going to drop from 4 to 3, which is just my assumptions or my expectation of drop of happiness, as well as the actual drop in happiness, both in an unfair decision and in a fair decision. So these two things are going to be explained later on. So as you can see in the figure 1, the predicted drop in happiness of those people who were interviewed by Gilbert and his company was 2.10 points. So for example, from 8, majority of the people expected that their happiness will drop into 5 to 6. But in reality, the actual drop in happiness was only 0.68 points. So it is actually nearly as half as what the college students predicted. The unfair decision. So these are basically all the rational things that a person would reason out once they didn't get the job. So one example of this one is, for example, I didn't get an interview. One of the things that I can reason out is I was probably late because it was super traffic. It was super traffic because I woke up late. I had to fix certain things at home. I had to prepare breakfast for my family and all this stuff. So, or what's funny is when people try to reason out that they're not looking good physically, appearance wise, and all these stuff that make us feel better in the long run just because we didn't get the job that we're wanting. With the unfair decisions predicted drop in happiness, it was as close as the fair decision, which is 2.10 points, and now we have 1.90 is 0.20 points lower, but the actual drop in happiness now is 0. I think the reason of this, why it is clearly no drop in happiness, is because of how we try to rational things out. I wasn't able to get this dream job just because I was feeling sick. I wasn't able to get my best suit. I wasn't able to use my best watch. I wasn't able to use certain things that we think will actually help us or supplement our interview. In addition, this is another figure showing what the recent graduates want in terms of considering a new job. So this is based on a LinkedIn poll. So as you can see now here in the figure, the top consideration of recent graduates or newly graduates. So people want a high salary as soon as they graduate. So of course, they want to get paid a lot. And I myself am guilty of it because as soon as I graduated in 2021, I just only took 2 months of break, and then my mom told me to why not look for a job. So I risked it and told myself I'm going to work on a construction company. It's a very small construction company, and to be honest, I was a bit salty with the money or the salary that I was getting. I was getting on a range of 14,000 to 16,000 as my salary, and as a young man, as someone who just recently graduated, it always felt unfair that I'm not getting enough money without me actually really showing or contributing in the company. So now, what is a high salary? So as you can see here, Luba Mirsky, she's an author. She had this book called The How of Happiness. She reported a data on how much does a person really think will make them happy in terms of salary, in terms of their income. So here, how much salary do you need? So for the people who have 30,000 for their salary, they've been wanting to have 50,000. And you might say now, what if a person who has 100,000 want? You might say, they must be contented. They must be already set since they have double or triple the amount of those who have only 30,000. But no, as you can see here, people who have 100,000 wants to have twice or more than twice than what they're getting, which is 250,000. I'm not sure if this is general or specifically for America or what country, but this is from Luba Mirsky. You might want to check her book, The How of Happiness, or of course this course, The Science of Well-being, rather. So one of the things as well that actually impacted me in terms of what was Professor Lori Santos was explaining is that she said what we think we need actually jumps up every time we get more. According to Lori Santos, we have a thing called the hedonic adaptation. So it's going to be explained later on, but I think this is actually very helpful in terms of what this meant here. Hedonic adaptation is when a person wants a materialistic thing, for example, all these stuff, the money, and once we get into a certain wanting, a goal, a dream, we tend to just adapt to it, and suddenly it just tends to be normal. So for example, try to think back when you were younger, you wanted to actually probably have a laptop, and now that you have your own laptop, you have your nice setup, it just feels normal now. Sometimes you don't really take care of it anymore. Then once you have a certain thing that you wanted way before, now you're wanting something more than what you already had. So that's, I think, something that people should be thinking about. And since we have just talked about compensation, this boils down to the second misconception, which is money. So correlated to having a good job is connecting it to what you receive, which is money. In another figure, in a US lottery spending in 2015, $70.15 billion was actually computed for the whole year in terms of how much money are people spending to win this lottery. This is actually more than books, music, movie tickets, sports tickets. Imagine NBA games. This is actually more than that. And video games combined. Another author, of the American Paradox named David Myers has the quotation of, "Compared with their grandparents, today's young adults have grown up with much more affluence, slightly less happiness, and much greater risk of depression and assorted social pathology." So does money really make us happier? According to Laurie Santos,
extra stuff that we're getting, it's not actually making us much happier. And that we should see kind of as a paradox.
actually, just trying to imagine it from an employed person, I think I wouldn't really be able to understand that money won't actually really make us happy. But trying to put the hedonic adaptation concept really made me think that is actually true. There are times that I've been wanting to buy a lot of books. So at one point I'll be saying that I'm going to buy a book for me to read, for me to learn something. And then in the end, sometimes the book that I buy end up not being read. And I just go about searching for different books instead. And I think that is actually one of the concept of hedonic adaptation. And then the circulation happens. You tend to want something more again. You tend to adapt to it. You tend to want. So all those stuff, it actually circulates. And from that, I sort of like absorb it well. And so third misconception about the life goals that we believe will make us happy is us acquiring the awesome stuff. So now we tend to want a good paying job. We want this thing called money that we think will result to us making happier, but it probably can make us happier in terms of us buying the things that we need in life. The essential things. Being able to eat, being able to drink, being able to shelter your own self. So now that you have the money, you're craving for the awesome stuff. Here in the Philippines, when I was younger, I tend to have this saying na kapag ako nagkaroon ako ng mansyon, magiging masaya na ako. Kapag ako nagkaroon ako ng mansyon, nagkaroon ako ng solid na bahay, modern, we try to specific it up, right? Mansyon, gusto ko ng kotse, Lamborghini, all those stuff. Feel ko masaya na ako. We have this quotation of, if only I had blank, I would be so happy. So this could be new pair of shoes, a house with infinity pool, or a nice Bugatti, right? And I think one of the things that factored out in this wanting of people, when people rap about having the Bugatti, having nice bags, the jewelry, having cash money, having bags of money, having what do these rappers say? 10 bands.
Yeah, 10 bands, 50 bands, 100. I woke up in a new Bugatti.
All those stuff. And I must say, I was affected by it as well. The way we try to listen to these things affect our mindset and how we perceive things. So now, thus the awesome stuff such as awesome cars, the fine drinks, and all these materialistic stuff that we see as a goal will make us happy. In another figure here, Nickerson had 12,000. I'm not sure if it's actually 12,000, but it's actually just based on what I've watched from Professor Laurie Santos. Nickerson interviewed 12,000 freshmen and asked regarding a materialistic attitude from 1976, and then 20 years later. So for example, 2023, I'm going to interview 12,000 freshmen, and then I'll try to get their contact number, all those stuff, then get back to them 20 years later. I don't know how he did it, but somehow he did it. So from 1976 and then 20 years later, asked about their life satisfaction, and reports show that materialistic attitude does not only make us less happy, but even give us mental disorders. So I think when we try to strive for materialistic things such as nice bags, signature bags, signature shoes, and all those stuff. We try to collect all those stuff as well. There are people who collect a lot of shoes, but in the end, you have no one to share those things with. It's actually very detrimental in our spiritual, mental health. Now, one more to the awesome stuff that Professor Laurie Santos explained is true love. Even true love does not make us happy. True love is included in the list of the misconceptions. In a data by Lucas and his colleagues, they have seen that married people are happier in the first 2 years of their married life, or what we call the honeymoon stage.
Yeah.
You want to get naughty?
No, I'm gassy.
So 2 years of that, and then it actually stabilizes and ties down to how unmarried people are. So married people tend to be way happier than the unmarried people for 2 years. Then after 2 years, it just stabilizes on how unmarried people are as well. So if you'll just see, probably it makes you happy on the first 2 years, and then afterwards it just stabilizes in how normal people are. And still, part of the awesome stuff is aiming for the perfect body or face. And I don't think that this is something surprising because of how much people are using social media, or how much we overindulge with movies that affects how we see and visualize, ourselves in movie. We visualize what beauty is in terms of what we see in social media. We have now a different perspective, or we perceive a different thing in terms of what really is a nice face. We have this tendency to say that the one with a sexy or hot face, jawline, all those stuff.
And while people still have their masks on, many are rushing to clinics for last-minute cosmetic surgeries. Some are getting their noses fixed.
And according to Professor Laurie Santos, achieving look goals actually reduces well-being. So for me, expecting a certain result, like expecting a result that is actually gotten from on a different person. For example, I only work out because I wanted to have David Lade's body. And definitely, we have different genetics, we have different genes. So it's going to be impossible for me to reach the exact body, the body appearance, the physical appearance of David Lade. It's going to be way different. So for me, you should still work out, but at the same time, not focus on the person or being the person that you see on social media. Rather, work out because you're going to have a good, mental stability by working out. It challenges you to wake up early, to have a discipline in terms of your habits. But at the same time, definitely, you're going to have changes in your body. Last but not the least, and the list is for our young people, is good grades. And here a data from Levine on 2012, if you get a grade that is lower or higher than you expect, how happy will you feel? This is similar from the first misconception, which is the good job. So now if you look at what people predicted, people who predicted higher than expected has a predicted happiness of 8.27. The exactly as expected is 7.81, and then lower than expected is 4.42. Now as you can see, the actual drop in happiness is just almost the same. Whether you get higher than expected, exactly as expected, or lower than expected, it's just a range of 6.5 to 6.4. So I'm not saying that you should not study anymore, but instead study with a different mindset. Study with a different goal, not just because you want a good grade, but rather have a mindset that if I study well, these knowledge that I'm going to learn are going to help me, rather than I want to study so I can have good grades. So it's actually a different mindset on what you want to achieve, whether you want good grades but rather understand that these things that you're going to learn when you're studying will help you in the future. That's it. So now that we know that these sexy things, such as good job, lots of money, awesome stuff, true love, the perfect body, and the perfect grade, the good grades, does not increase our well-being, and more so, these does not go nearly as much as what we expect. Lori Santos asks us, why don't these things make us happy? And these are the two major answers of people. First is, happiness is just genetically set and you cannot change it. Second is, stuff happens and messes things up. These are majority of the people give out. And to see, these two answers again are wrong. So going back to the book of How of Happiness by Sonja Lyubomirsky, scientifically explains the role of happiness in terms of our genes, in terms of what we can control, and what life can affect our happiness. As you can see, the actions and thoughts are 40%. The genetic set point, for example, your height, your looks, is 50%, and life happens is 10%. So we have the 40% on our under control. So she explains that our intentional, effortful activities have a powerful effect on how happy we are, over and above the effects of our set points and the circumstances in which we find ourselves. Most of the goals we think that will make us happy don't really make us happy. Interestingly, there are things we can do to make us happier. So, there are other things that Lori Santos explained. She also explained the annoying features of our minds, which is, we have the strongest intuition that are often totally wrong. So these features will be added into the next couple of videos, the next episode, if you think that these are going to be, if these have been beneficial for you guys. So comment down below if you think these are helpful, if you want the other 4 misconceptions that I've explained. Again, these are, first, the misconception about happiness that I have just shared earlier. Second is, why are our expectations are so bad? Second is, what stuff really increases happiness? Fourth, strategies to reset our expectations. And last but not the least is putting these strategies into practice. So there you have it, the first of 5 key points of the science of happiness. I think this has actually affected the way I think about my own expectations rather. I've been having different mindset now. Help me to help you out, guys. Didn't believe that I'm going to say this, but like, subscribe, do the normal YouTube stuff. Try to share this for the YouTube algorithm and for this YouTube to grow. And just comment down if you think the 4 other misconceptions will actually help you to learn what really the science of happiness is. And see you in the next one.